Okay, good evening, everyone. A crowd this evening. Will the March 7th, 2023 meeting, the City of West Richland Council call to order at 6 p.m. And before we call the roll, Stephanie, you want to read the hybrid meeting ground rules, please?
Yes, thank you. Tonight's meeting will be held in person with a virtual meeting component. If you are participating virtually, please make sure the name shown at the bottom of your video view is the name you would like the mayor to use. You can change this by right-clicking on your video view and selecting Rename. Audience members present in the council chambers will be called upon first during public comment periods. Those participating remotely should virtually raise your hand if you wish to speak. To virtually raise your hand, click on Participants and then click on Raise Hand. If you are participating by phone only, press *9 to raise your hand. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. All right, roll call. Brent Gary?
Here.
Richard Bloom?
Here.
Fred Brink?
Here.
David Fetto?
Here.
May Hayes? Here. Kate Moran? Present. John Smart?
Here.
Ken Stoker?
Here. Thank you. Councilman Stoker, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance this evening, please?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All righty. Thank you, Councilman. Council, the agenda's before you. Councilman Bloom asked for us to move item 5C to, excuse me. I got a typo here. No, it's 6. Well, on mine it says 5, but we'll call it 6. We're reading 2 different ones. C to 7A. So that may have a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
I move to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those like sign, motion carries unanimous. Thank you, council. All right, we're going to move on to presentations this evening. And our first presentation is with Chief Grego and the introduction of our new officer. Chief Grego, if you would, please.
Thanks, Mayor. Good evening, council. Tonight, it's with great honor again to get to introduce a newest member of our police department family, Officer Elijah Suarez. Officer Suarez was born and raised in Othello, Washington, and he is married to Jasmine and has 3 children, Elijah, Ethan, and Eiley. Elijah and Ethan love to play police officer at home by giving commands to each other. There's an application on the back. We get started early. All right. That's great stuff. Officer Suarez began his law enforcement career in 2010 as a correctional officer at Coyote Ridge. In 2017, he decided to take on the next step of his career and became a police officer. And previously had worked for Kennewick Police Department and also Othello Police Department. Officer Suarez has a passion for investigating property crimes and returning stolen property to its rightful owner. Officer Suarez, off time, he loves to spend time either fishing on the Columbia River or hunting in the mountains, and he looks forward to serving the community of West Richland, Washington. So at this time, let's do the swear in. Step up here. I state your name.
I, Isaiah Suarez,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Washington,
and the Constitution of the State of Washington,
and I will faithfully and impartially
and I will faithfully and impartially perform and discharge
the duties of police officer
the duty of police officer
in the city of West Richland
for the city of West Richland
according to the law,
according to the law,
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
So can you have Jasmine Cano come up here and we'll have her pin the badge on you?
You want to bring your family camera up a little closer anywhere, come on up. Feel free.
It has to stick in there.
Drop blood.
But this time I'll have you. introduce yourself to the council.
Hi, council. I'm Officer Isaiah Suarez. It is my pleasure to work for the city of West Richland. I'm looking forward to serving until I retire. Um, yeah, this is my passion. I've always wanted to be a police officer, and this has been my goal since I was a child, and I'm living my dream. Thank you. Oh, and I'll introduce my family. So you guys met my wife, Jasmine. That's my dad, Eli. My mom, Amy. My brother, Matthew. My brother, Jacob, and then my sister-in-law, Jackie. And then I got 3 kids. They're all on the floor. Yeah. So thank you guys so much.
You come on up, introduce yourself to the council.
Well, I'd say thank you guys for coming out and welcome to the West Richland family. It's good to have you guys. Thank you. And thanks team for supporting.
Yeah, thanks all you guys for coming out and spending time with us today. This is a great opportunity. West Richland's a family oriented place, both within our city and our employees and our police departments and as ladies and gentlemen of yourselves that make this one of the finest places in the state of Washington to live, the safest community in the state of Washington. So we appreciate all your hard work and we look forward to you continuing to keep us safe and you guys be safe out there too. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. So moving on to our next presentation this evening, one that's not quite as exciting, but it just depends on what side of the bench you're sitting on. With that, I will ask our current attorney, the city attorney Bronson Brown, to introduce the city of West Richland's new attorney, Jessica Foltz. Bronson, if you would, please.
Okay, so I'll give council a little background. I've been serving the city as city attorney since 2009. And when the former city attorney, Terry Tanner, was appointed district court judge. And so I recently was appointed by the judges of Benton County as a judicial officer for Benton County. And so because of that, I won't be able to serve anymore as your city attorney for West Richland. But our firm has brought in Jessica Foltz, who has been working for the city of Kennewick, and second in command to Lisa Beaton. And she is going to take the reins. And so I invite Jessica up here. She can introduce herself.
Good evening. I'm Jessica Foltz, currently still employed at Kennewick for a few more days. So I've worked at Kennewick for 10 years. I've been doing civil work and supervising our criminal division there for the last 7 or so. I've been an attorney since 2009. So if you have other questions, I'd be happy to answer them. I'm excited to get started and meet everybody and work with everybody. I've had some one-on-one meetings with the department head team today. It's productive and I'm excited to get started.
Well, we welcome you, and we've had a couple of meetings with you. We interviewed Jessica with senior staff, and then also she has also met with other senior staffers on one-on-ones, kind of get up to speed with everything past tense and what potential issues might be in the future. And we're very fortunate to be able to bring somebody along like Jessica that has been mentored. I mean, you obviously are a qualified individual, but having the 10 years that you have with Kennewick is big. And Lisa Beaton she's stellar in what she does. So with your background in the criminal side of it, that's also beneficial, being that real Mike does our criminal for both Richland and City of West Richland. You'll be well-rounded in that. So we're glad to have you aboard. And with that, I'm going to ask Bronson if he please relieve himself from that position, and we'll ask Jessica to come on up and sit on down.
One more thing, I did tell Jessica not to be afraid if she needs to push back against the city's public works director. She can. He likes that.
Yeah, I stepped into a meeting this morning and this afternoon and had to ask a couple of questions of Roscoe. They were in the laughing stages of their interview, so I think he probably either didn't scare her away or else she smacked him down pretty quick and got it squared up. But no, we're glad to have you aboard. Much appreciate. Bronson, you've been a great attorney for us, and believe it or not, you have won cases. So, you know, we appreciate that. And, you know, this is another step in your movement of a career. And hopefully at some point in time, you can put your name back out on the street and fill a judge position full time by the elected people. You're making the right step right now of your peers in the judges, chambers, having the confidence in you to do the job. So we're all proud of you, and you know, us being able to mentor you to get to that next level was certainly an honor. So with that, Bronson, we wish you and your family the best, and it's not the last you've heard of us as well. Thank you. Okay, so with that, we will go ahead and move on to the consent agenda this evening, which would consist of approving the minutes of the regular meeting of February 21st, 2023, and the special meeting of February 28th, 2023. And a motion to authorize the mayor to sign a contract with Axon Enterprises for 2 additional cameras. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Again.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimous. Thank you, council. With that, we're going to go ahead and move on to our first, excuse me, if there's anyone from the audience who would like to speak to the consent agenda this evening, you could come to the podium and state your name and address for the record. I see no one in the audience. Is there anyone virtually that would like to speak to the consent agenda this evening? If so, raise your virtual hand or *9 if you're by phone. Stephanie, do you see anyone virtually?
I do not.
Or do I? With that, then we'll go ahead and move on to our citizens' public comment. This is the first opportunity for citizens to comment to items not on the agenda in regards to addressing the council. If you'd like to address the council either in the audience or by virtual, raise your virtual hand or *9. Anyone from the audience? Come to the podium, state your name and address for the record. And then you got 3 minutes to address council for items not on the agenda this evening.
Sure. So my name's Rob Meyer. I live in 4924 Blue Heron Boulevard. Lived in there for about 13 years now. The reason why I came was just to maybe bring up an item of concern, I guess, for our neighborhood. We have a little park in South Highlands Park. It's very confusing because it's not actually on South Highlands. It's back on like Hummingbird or something. But anyways, it's a pretty dilapidated old park that the asphalt, the 2 tennis courts have completely heaved up and has been unusable in the 13 years that I've lived there. And so I was just wondering what the process would be to maybe revitalize that park to be more usable for the community.
If you go ahead and hang around to the end of the meeting, as we have our staff and council comments and reports, I'll ask a staff member to address your questions.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
On out? No one virtually, Stephanie?
There's no one with their hand up. No.
So with that, we'll go ahead and move on to ordinances, resolutions, motions, and public hearings. Councilman Bloom asked to move item 6C. Motion to award North 62nd Avenue overlay and water main replacement project. Councilman Bloom, you have the floor.
Well, I just wanted to ask a question at the last paragraph of the staff report talks about, future insufficient funds for budgeting available to complete water main replacement on Chelan, Arlington, Fallon, 46 in 2024 without a future budget amendment. So is the plan still to do that? And we'll just see the budget amendment, or to defer that further out? That was my question.
Good question. So right now, yeah, there was 3 projects, and we had water line replacement as part of the Bomb Range Keene Road intersection. We now have it with this TIB project under 62nd, and the last one was this Arlington Chelan. And you're right, it is short. We're in the middle of updating our water rate models that will be working with the finance department and looking at that to see if we can add more money in the budget to do that project without impacting rates. And so later this year, we'll have that, and I'm still hopeful that we'll be able to do that without affecting rates and still complete the project in 2024. I just hope prices kind of mellow out in the water pipe and water fittings.
Okay, so this queued up by the bid that we got back in, correct?
That is correct.
That was all my question, so.
Yeah, so I'm glad this came off the consent because I also had a question very quick. I was looking at the prices on the engineers and low bidder estimates, and I was just curious to know if those prices for things like fittings and so forth, does that include labor each, or is that just the material cost? Just out of curiosity.
It's baked into the bid item. So
The
when you're,
labor's
yeah, so
baked
like
in.
when you're getting
Okay.
paid per linear feet of pipe, it also includes the labor, which that's part of. It's not 100% material, but the materials are definitely 35% increase on themselves, and then labor costs is even additional to that.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm glad to hear that includes labor because those are really expensive fittings otherwise. So appreciate that. Thank you.
It's like that movie. What's the cost of a toilet seat?
Okay, so I'll go ahead and move to award the North 62nd Avenue overlay water main replacement project to Premier Excavating Inc. in the amount of $1,164,085.88, including sales tax, and authorize the mayor to execute the contract.
Motion to have second?
Second.
Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried unanimous. Thank you, council. Okay, this evening we have no unfinished business or new business. So this is the time for a second opportunity for citizen public comment. Again, if you'd like to address council, please come to the podium, state your name and residency for the record, and or raise your virtual hand or *9 if you're by phone. No one in the audience. Stephanie, you see anyone else virtually this evening?
I do not.
Then we'll go ahead and move on to the staff council reports and comments. So we'll go ahead and start with Chief Grego. Chief?
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, council, again. Tonight, I have one announcement. As you probably saw on our Facebook page, we are swearing in Polar, our emotional support dog, on the 16th of March. It actually starts, the flyer said at 10, but it actually starts at 9. We'll do about an hour of social with him and just let everybody get to know him, take pictures if they want. Then we'll go into a ceremony for him, and then we'll break after that. But that'll be the 16th. So if you can make it, that'd be great. It's getting some attention on Facebook, so I expect the crowd to be pretty big.
The time changes from what?
It said on the flyer 10, but we'll be starting at 9.
Open to the public. Perfect. Grab your kids, come on down. Bowler's pretty cool. Got an opportunity to see him while there. Mr. Slade.
Thank you, Mayor. So just one comment. So the Keene Road Bomb Range intersection project, they're getting ready to gear up to start construction of that and set out the detours and build the south half. We actually pushed it back a week. Originally, they were going to set the traffic control up the same day that the Easter egg hunt was at the sports complex. So that's been changed. So there'll be a specific date, more to come, but April 10th, the week of April 10th is, I think it's later in that week is when they'll start. And we're going to be doing a full court press on getting information out on the detours, what to expect. And all I can say is it will be congested. Avoid the intersection if you can. But certain times of the day, it will be backed up just because there's limited detours around it. But staff will be working with Stephanie to get it on the Facebook webpage. We'll be working, reaching out to the city of Richland to get them information. So trying to get it out as much as possible. Yeah, it goes to emergency dispatch, so the fire department, police department will have that, school district. So everybody will, they'll know about it, so there shouldn't be any surprises when they get stuck in traffic there. So just look for that. We're gonna, like I said, do a full court press on the PR for them. So.
Thank you, Russell. Eric?
My comments tonight are just to address the public comments that were made earlier, which is pertains to the South Highlands Park that's not on South Highlands. I find that ironic as well. So that project, we're going through our Parks Plan update. The capital improvement plan also identifies this as a need. It is scheduled and slated for the next biennium, so 2025, 2026 to be included in the budget cycle. It's just under $1 million to do that project right now as its engineer estimate for that. The project will rehab the park, do ADA modifications to make sure that's ADA compliant, and modify the racquetball courts to pickleball courts is the current plan. And if you want to stick around afterwards, be happy to talk to you more about it.
Thank you, Eric. Appreciate it. Council. We'll start with Council Member Moran.
Thank you very much. I just want to put a reminder out there for the Benton Franklin Council of Governments. We are having our meeting where we are likely going to be approving our new governing documents. I can't remember the name of them, but bylaws. Thank you very much. And possibly also policies. So that is coming up on the 17th. There was a Tri-Cities Mobility Action Group walk audit. It was scheduled earlier in the month, and now it looks like it was just rescheduled today for Thursday, March 23rd. It will be in Pasco. Hopefully staff that is interested or anybody else has that information. If not, I can give that information to Stephanie to give out. And the Tri-Cities Mobility Action Group is also meeting on the 24th, but we have another meeting before then. So I'll leave that with them.
Councilmember Schultz.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to inform the council, mayor, and city clerk Stephanie that I will be out of town for the next council meeting. And not likely able to available in participate virtually, so I'm requesting to be excused.
Councilmember Blue.
Yeah, I attended the American Public Transportation well, it's a discussion of marketing and advertising. And the subject that came up, and I guess it would be a question for Eric. There was one out of Seattle. Seattle doesn't allow them to put advertisement on the bus stops. And I assume you do the same because it would be a violation of our sign ordinance, so to speak, without some sort of waiver. But unlike and not that I'm proposing it, but I was just wondering that would be the proper response, correct?
Yeah, so currently our sign code needs to be updated.
I recognize that.
Badly.
We did that 2-3 years ago.
And it's always a joy to do that. So it's on my list of things to do. And right now, yes, off premises signs are prohibited. But so, yeah, if they were trying to advertise for a business and it's not on the premises, then it would not be a sign that would be permitted.
Currently BFT doesn't allow advertising at all. But we are looking at bringing it back to the buses because the buses are looking a little bleak. But just to fill them with something. But we do support, I mean, if there is a event type of activity, that's our policy on BFT would allow us to wrap a bus for that event. So if it was a community event, we would support that. So just one by the way. But for other advertisers, we don't. I spent most of the day in the Hanford Advisory Board. And we're reshuffling the board around. Mr. Smart, I think, listened in.
I was there the whole time. Not a lot to report.
Yeah, well, I stayed awake. But anyway, that was that. And coming out of that, I know Stephanie is forwarding a link to staff on rat protection seminar that the Department of Health is going to put on. Talking about what the rat protection activities out on the site. It shouldn't be too long, and knowing the people that are going to do it is, I was thinking in terms of for people that interface with people coming into the area, it might be worthwhile just to get the flavor of how protected you are here, considering what's been done back there. So it's not a free for all out there on the site. I'd go out there without, I was out there yesterday. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilmember Hayes.
Thank you, Mayor. First off, I want to thank Eric for the great job he did at the West Richland Chamber Luncheon. And everybody was just amazed. We had a lot of people from other towns there to see what all West Richland was doing. And it has surprised a lot of people on just the growth, and they had no idea, even the ones that live here, you know. So it turned out really great attendance. Dan Newhouse, representative, was there. We had a lot of people there, and Eric did a great job. We had Fred Kane to represent the mayor. So thank you, Fred. David was there. And the police department, thank you guys for coming. It makes a huge difference. So thank you for that. I just want to remind everybody that the senior center on Tuesday, the 14th, has their reopening luncheon. It is going to be hosted by Guardian Angel Assisted Living. So if anybody's preparing for assisted living, even if you're not, it'd be great to have you there. And they're going to provide the lunch and everything for everybody. So we've reached out and invited the police and the fire district and the city and everybody. So if you have time, it starts at 11:30 at the senior center on Tuesday, the 14th. Love to see you there.
Mayor Pro Tem Bray.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Association of Washington Cities recently appointed me to the Bylaws Review Committee. So I'll be sitting with several of my peers from across the state to look at the rules of governance that address how AWC carries out its business. So I would encourage anyone who has any input that I will gladly take that under advisement. But we're going to have several meetings in the next few months. They review their bylaws about every 5 years. So I'm actually privileged to be on that committee as well. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Brink. And again, thank you for standing in for me at the chamber luncheon while I was at the Waste Management Conference. I appreciate that. And if there's nothing else this evening, we'll wrap her up at 6:30. Meeting adjourned.